The woman at the front desk was already crying when I came on shift, and that should have told me everything I needed to know about this job. But I am getting ahead of myself. My name is Dale Morrow. In June of 2019, I started working the overnight front desk at the Crossroads Motel, a beat-up little place sitting at a lonely intersection about 40 minutes west of Kingman, Arizona. 11 at night to 7 in the morning, 5 nights a week. The pay was barely worth mentioning. I took the job because I had just finalized a divorce that left me with a truck, 2 suitcases, and a studio apartment near the railroad tracks in Kingman, and because I had not been able to sleep through a full night in over a year. Figured I might as well get paid for being awake. The motel sat where 3 roads met. Route 68 ran north and south, connecting Kingman up to Bullhead City. A state highway cut roughly east to west, eventually linking to US 93 if you stayed on it. And a narrow county road came up from the southwest, used mostly by ranchers and the occasional lost tourist trying to find a shortcut that did not exist. 3 roads. That is it. They came together at one point, and the motel sat right there, like a buoy in the middle of a dry ocean. Its pink stucco walls washed out by a neon vacancy sign you could spot from over a mile out on a clear night. 32 rooms in an L shape around a swimming pool that had not seen water since I was in high school. The office had wood-paneled walls, a Formica counter with a chip in the corner that I would rest my elbow on every night until I learned not to, a rack of brochures nobody touched, and a big laminated road map pinned to the wall behind my chair. There was a television in the corner that got 3 channels, a coffee machine that produced something I can only describe as hot and brown, and a desk fan that clicked back and forth like a metronome. Behind the counter, a door opened into the back office where they kept the safe, some filing cabinets, and a bank of 4 security monitors showing the parking lot from different angles. That was my world. Fluorescent lights, stale air, and the sound of wind against glass. That first night, the woman who was crying. Her name was Deborah. She was the evening clerk. And she was not crying about anything supernatural. She was going through something with her son, she told me, wiping her eyes and grabbing her purse. She apologized. I told her it was fine. She gave me a 10-minute rundown of the job, which amounted to, here is how the register works. Here is where the extra towels are. Here is the number for the owner if something catches fire. Do not fall asleep. Then she left, and I was alone. For the first 2 weeks, the job was exactly what I wanted. Quiet. Simple. I would check in maybe 2 or 3 guests a night, mostly truckers or road trippers who had pushed too far past their limits and needed a bed before the last stretch to Vegas or Laughlin. I would hand them a key, point them toward their room, and go back to my book. Sometimes I would step outside and stand under the awning and just look up. The sky out there is something else. You can see the Milky Way so clearly, it looks fake, like someone painted it on a ceiling. The quiet is not really quiet. There is always wind, always sand hissing across the asphalt, always a truck downshifting on a grade somewhere far away. But it is the kind of noise that feels like silence. It empties you out in a way I needed at the time. 2 weeks in, on a Tuesday, the first thing happened that I could not explain away. It was about 1:30 in the morning. A silver Honda Civic pulled into the lot, engine idling rough, and a woman came through the office door shaking like she had just been in an accident. She was not hurt. She was scared. She told me she had left Kingman about an hour ago heading west toward Laughlin. Drove for 45 minutes. Then she saw the motel sign on the horizon. She thought she had gotten turned around somehow, so she checked her GPS. It said she was right back where she had started. She figured she had missed a turn. So she got back on the road, drove west again, watching every mile marker this time. 20 minutes later, the motel sign appeared again. I told her what made sense. Desert roads at night all look the same. Long, straight, dark. Easy to get confused. She nodded, but I could see she did not buy it. She asked if she could look at the map on the wall. I said sure. She stood in front of it for a while, tracing routes with her finger. Then she asked me something that stuck. She asked where the East Road was. I looked at the map. 3 roads. I told her the East-West Highway went in both directions. If she wanted to head east, she would take it toward Kingman. She shook her head. Not that road, she said. The other one. The one she had come in on. She pointed past the front window, past the parking lot, into the dark. She said she had pulled in from that direction. I told her there was nothing out there. No paved road east of the motel. Just open desert and eventually mountains. The parking lot faced east because of how the building sat, but the highway access was north and west. She gave me a look I would see a lot over the next few months. The look of someone deciding it is not worth sounding crazy. She asked for a room. Paid cash. Left before my shift ended without stopping by the office. I watched her car pull north onto 68, toward Kingman. Totally normal. I thought about her, then I let it go. People get lost out here. That is the whole explanation. 2 nights later, a man in a white pickup proved it was not. He came in around 3, not scared, just annoyed. Big guy, 50s, Diamondbacks cap, the kind of weathered patience that comes from living in Arizona your whole life. Said he had been coming down from Bullhead on 68, a route he had driven 100 times. Somehow ended up back at this intersection. Twice. He figured the state had moved some signs around. Asked if there had been construction. I said I did not think so. He shrugged, asked for a room, said he would sort it out in the morning when he could see. After he went to his room, I pulled up the security monitors in the back office. His white truck sat in front of room 9. The cameras showed the lot, the sign, the roads heading north and west. Nothing unusual. I watched for a while, not even sure what I was looking for, then went back to the counter. In the morning, I drove the roads myself. Took 68 north 15 miles, turned around, came back. No issues. Took the east-west highway toward Kingman for 10 miles, turned around. Fine. County road southwest. Same thing. Every road went exactly where it was supposed to. I decided the pickup guy had probably been drinking. Then Saturday night, a young couple in a rented Hyundai Sonata checked in around midnight. Phoenix to Vegas, needed sleep, totally routine. I gave them room 22. At 2:30, I heard tires on gravel. Looked up. Blue Hyundai Sonata. Same couple. Same clothes. Same rental sticker on the bumper. They said they had left about an hour ago and ended up back here. Could they have their room back? 3 incidents in 10 days. All after midnight. All people who drove away from the motel on a road that should have taken them somewhere and instead brought them back. The details changed every time, but the result was the same. The motel was the only destination. The next morning, I drove to the Kingman Roads Department and asked about recent changes to the highways. None. I asked about unmapped roads near the motel. They gave me a printout of every road within 20 miles. 12 total, counting the dirt tracks and old mining routes. I checked the printout against the motel wall map in the parking lot. They matched. 3 paved roads at the crossroads. Nothing else. No road from the east. A week later, I found the notebook. I was cleaning out the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet in the back office, and there it was shoved behind a stack of old tax folders. Standard composition book, black and white marbled cover. The name inside said Carl Breslin. I asked the day manager about him the next morning. She said Carl had worked the night shift for almost 3 years before me. One day he just stopped coming in. No notice, no call. She did not know what happened to him and did not seem particularly curious about it. The first chunk of the notebook was boring. Maintenance logs, supply lists, phone numbers for contractors. Carl had careful, precise handwriting, the kind you see from people who grew up when penmanship still mattered. Then, about a quarter of the way through, the entries changed. The first one that caught my attention, guest in room 7, checked out 11:40 at night. Drove north. Same car returned 1:15 in the morning from the west. Guest did not remember leaving. Same room. She did not notice. A few pages later, Texas plates left heading west at 12:30. Returned from South County Road 40 minutes later. Driver said he had been on the road for hours. Did not recognize the motel. And then the observation stopped and the instructions started. Carl wrote, "These are not rules. I do not know what rules would even mean out here. These are things I've noticed that seem to keep the shift manageable. I followed them for 3 years and nothing happened to me that I could not handle. Do what you want with them. I am going to give them to you the way Carl wrote them, as close as I can remember. First, do not give anyone directions toward the east. If they need to get somewhere east, tell them to take 68 north to Kingman and catch the interstate. If they specifically ask about a road heading east from the crossroads, tell them there is not one. If you can see one, the previous sentence still applies. Second, if someone says they came in from the east, do not argue with them. Nod, check them in, move on. They will not bring it up again. Third, do not watch cars drive away from the lot. I know that sounds strange. It is not a safety thing. It is a perception problem. If you see a car leave, and it does not do what you expect a car to do when it is driving away, you are going to start seeing things you cannot unsee. Better not to start. Fourth, If a guest comes back twice in one night, do not ask them about it. Just give them their room. If they want to talk, listen. Do not explain. You do not have an explanation. Pretending you do just scares them more. Fifth, do not look at the security cameras after 3 in the morning. I know, but what they show after 3 is not always what is out there, and it is not always what is not out there. It will just keep you up during the day. You need your sleep. Sixth, if a car pulls into the lot with no dust on it, do not give them a room. Every car that comes in off these roads has dust on it. The desert gets on everything. If a car shows up looking showroom clean, it did not use the 3 roads. Tell them you are full. They will leave without a fight. Do not watch them go. Seventh, there is a compass on the wall by the front door. Most nights it points north. When it does not, expect a busy shift. Stay calm. Follow the other rules. Wait for daylight. Eighth, sunrise fixes everything. I have driven every road out here in the daytime. They are all normal. Whatever happens at night has edges. It starts after dark and stops at dawn. You can count on that. I read Carl's notebook 3 times that night while the wind moaned through the window frames. Then I looked at the compass by the door, pointing north. I looked at the wall map. 3 roads. I looked out the window at the dark past the parking lot. I told myself Carl had gone stir-crazy. 3 years alone, at night in the desert. Of course you start seeing patterns. The brain needs patterns the way lungs need air. And if there are not real ones, it will build its own. Then, about an hour later, a dark blue Ford Taurus pulled in. Guy in his 40s, khakis, polo shirt. I checked him into room 11. At 3:15, a dark blue Ford Taurus pulled into the lot. Same plates, same man, same khakis. He walked in and asked for a room like he had never been here before. There is a feeling you get when something you have been telling yourself is impossible just happens in front of you. It is not fear, exactly. It is more like the floor shifting an inch to the left. Everything looks the same, but the weight distribution is different. I put him in room 12, did not ask him anything. He took his key and left. Both rooms were empty in the morning, both used normally. 1 man, 2 rooms. I started following Carl's rules. I stopped watching cars drive away. I stopped checking the cameras after 3. When guests looped back, I gave them their rooms and kept my mouth shut. It became routine. Over the next few weeks, I saw 4 or 5 loops a week, sometimes more. Always after midnight. Always travelers who drove out on one road and came back from a different one. I kept notes on a yellow legal pad, recording the time, the direction they left, the direction they returned. I thought if I gathered enough data, I would find a pattern. Something environmental, magnetic, atmospheric. Something that would let me keep this in the category of weird but explainable. The data did not cooperate. A trucker left heading north, came back from the west. A family went west, came back from the southwest county road. A woman drove north, came back from the north 20 minutes later, which was impossible unless she had made a 90-minute round trip to Bullhead and back in a third of the time. The directions were not just reversed. They were shuffled, randomized, as if the roads were swapping endpoints every time someone tried to use them. I started going outside at night, standing under the awning, looking at the horizon. North, you could sometimes see the glow of Bullhead City reflected on low clouds. West, if conditions were right, a faint smear of light from Laughlin. South, nothing. East, sometimes there was a road. Not a suggestion of a road. A road, paved straight, extending from the edge of the motel property into the desert, heading toward a gentle rise about half a mile out. I could see it reflecting the motel neon sign, a thin pink line in the dark. No markings, no signs, no shoulder, just asphalt going east. The first night I saw it, I walked to the edge of the lot and stared. The wind was blowing from the east, which was unusual. It had a smell to it I could not place, something mineral, like the inside of a cave or wet limestone. The road was right there. I could have stepped onto it. I went back inside. I checked the east-facing security monitor. The camera showed scrubland and nothing else. No road. I went back outside. Road. Inside. No road. That is what Carl meant. The cameras record what is there. But what is there and what you can see are not the same thing after dark. I stopped looking east for a while, but other people kept seeing it. Over the next month, 3 different guests mentioned it. A retired couple asked if the East Road was a shortcut to Kingman. A solo traveler said his GPS was showing something his paper map did not have. A trucker asked point blank why there was a road heading east that was not on any sign. Each time, I steered them away from it. Take 68 north, I said. Stick to the main highways. Each time, they shrugged and moved on. The road was not always there. Some nights, the east was just empty desert, same as it should be. Other nights, the road was so visible, it looked like it had been there for decades. There did not seem to be a pattern to when it appeared, except that it was more likely on nights when the compass drifted away from north and the shift was busy with loops. Somewhere in August, the map on the wall changed. I noticed it on a Thursday. I glanced up at the laminated road map I had been looking at every night for 2 months, and something was different. Took me a minute to figure out what. Then I saw it. There was a thin line extending east from the crossroads. Faint, almost invisible, printed in the same red ink as the other highways. It had not been there before. I had studied that map line by line, compared it to the county printout. There was no fourth road. Now there was. I took the map off the wall and examined it under the fluorescent lights. The line was part of the print, not drawn on. It extended east for about an inch, maybe 5 miles in real-world distance, and then just stopped. No label, no route number, no destination. A road going nowhere, or going somewhere the map did not know about yet. I put the map back, checked the county printout. 3 roads, no eastern route. Only the motel map had changed. 2 nights later, the line was longer. I had marked its endpoint with a small pencil dot on the laminate. The line had grown past it by maybe a 1/4 inch. I made a new dot. 2 nights after that, it was past the new dot too. The map was recording the road. The road was growing. I stopped measuring because the measuring was starting to feel like participating. In September, a new kind of incident started happening, and it was worse than the loops. Some of the returning travelers remembered routes that did not exist. A woman who had left heading north toward Bullhead came back from the west and told me about a beautiful drive through mountain pine forests along a river. There are no pine forests between the motel and Bullhead. There is no river within 30 miles. But she described the pines, the water, the way the road curved along a canyon wall, all in vivid, specific detail. She was not confused. She was not making it up. She was telling me about a drive she genuinely remembered taking. A trucker who had left heading west came back from the south, describing a small town he had passed through. Gas station, diner, church with a white steeple. He had stopped for gas and talked to the attendant. There is no town in that direction. There is nothing in that direction for 40 miles except rock and scrub and a handful of abandoned mine shafts. But this man remembered the town the way you remember your morning commute. It was just there, in his mind, solid and certain. The loops were bad enough. You could almost explain them as a navigational anomaly, something electromagnetic or atmospheric that messed with GPS and spatial awareness. Hard to believe, but at least physically possible. False memories were something else entirely. They meant the roads were not just redirecting people. They were giving them experiences of places that, as far as I could verify, did not exist, or existed somewhere I had no way of getting to. Carl's notebook did not mention any of this. Either he had not encountered it, or he had not asked enough questions to find it. I wondered for the first time what else he might not have written down. In October, I started breaking rules. I checked the cameras after 3 in the morning. Carl was right that what they showed was disturbing, but it was not the kind of disturbing I expected. No ghosts, no monsters, no faces in the dark. What the cameras showed was just wrong. I would watch a car leave the lot, heading north, getting smaller on the monitor, totally normal. And then, without any visible turn, the car would start getting larger again. Same heading, same direction, but approaching now instead of receding. It had not turned around, it had not looped. It was as if the road itself had folded backward, like running your hand along a strip of paper and realizing it is a loop that feeds back into itself. The car was still driving forward, but forward had quietly become backward. On camera, It looked seamless. No glitch, no cut, no transition. The car just gradually stopped going away and started coming back. It was the most disquieting thing I've ever watched because it meant the loops were not driver error. The roads themselves were not going anywhere. After dark, the highways around the motel physically curved back to the crossroads. A closed system with the motel at the center. But the East Road was not part of the system. Nothing ever looped back from the east. That direction did not play by the same rules. November, the night that changed things. I was behind the counter at 1:15 when a black Chevy Suburban pulled into the lot. New model, tinted windows. I noticed two things immediately. The driver was wearing a full suit, charcoal gray white shirt, no tie, at 1 a.m. at a desert motel, and the car was clean. Not road trip clean, factory clean. No dust on the paint, the windows, the wheel wells, nothing. The black finish reflected the neon sign like a dark mirror. Rule 6. No dust, no room. He came in smiling, asked for a room. I told him we were full. He looked at the lot. 5 cars in front of 32 rooms. He looked back at me, said, "Full." I said yes. He did not push it. He nodded and turned toward the door. Then he stopped and said, without turning around, "You read Carl's book?" I did not respond. He said, "Carl was careful, but careful is not the same as right. The East Road does not loop, Dale. I think you know that. Everything else here goes in circles, but the East Road is straight. Think about what a straight road means. It goes somewhere, and a road that goes somewhere has to come from somewhere too." He walked out, got in the Suburban, and drove east. I watched him go, and I am telling you, there was a road. Headlights on smooth pavement, getting smaller in a straight line, heading toward the horizon until they disappeared. No loop, no fold, just gone. He knew my name. He knew about Carl's notebook. And he came from a direction that should not exist. I went back through my notes that morning and found 3 other instances of dustless vehicles I had turned away since starting the job. Every time, the driver had been calm, polite, well-dressed. Every time, they had left without argument. I had written them off as travelers who had recently washed their cars. I now doubted all 3 had been travelers at all. After that night, I stopped being able to pretend this was a geographic anomaly. Something was using the East Road, something that knew the motel, knew the rules, knew the people who worked there. And the road was growing longer on the map every week, reaching deeper into the blank margin where the cartography ended, drawing its own territory. I need to talk about the choice I was facing, because it is the thing I still do not have an answer for. I knew things the travelers did not. I knew the roads looped at night. I knew that leaving the motel after midnight meant a decent chance of driving for an hour and ending up right back in the lot. I knew that trying multiple times just made it worse, that the more you fought the loop, the more disoriented you got, and sometimes you came back with memories of places you had never been. I could have warned people. I could have told every guest, do not drive after midnight. The roads are not reliable. Just wait for morning. Sunrise fixes everything. But if I told them the 3 known roads were useless, and they looked east and saw a road that was not looping, if someone panicked enough to try the one road that actually went somewhere, I had no idea what would happen to them. Nothing came back from the east. Not the loops, not the cars, not anything. Was that because the east road was an escape? Or because it was something else entirely? Silence felt like complicity. Warning felt like risk. I chose silence. I still wonder if that was right. December, the night of the 19th, 2:40 in the morning. I was in the back office when I felt it before I heard it. A low vibration in my chest, deep and sustained, lasting about 5 seconds. I went to the front window. The east road was more visible than I had ever seen it. Wide, freshly paved, extending from the edge of the lot straight to the horizon. The neon vacancy sign reflected on the asphalt so clearly I could read the letters in reverse. And out, at the far edge of my vision, maybe a mile away, there were headlights. 2 white points. Not moving. I need to be specific about why they were wrong. Real headlights move even when a car is stopped. The engine vibrates. The suspension shifts. The light trembles slightly, constantly. These did not. They were perfectly still, perfectly bright, perfectly spaced. Like someone had studied what headlights look like and reproduced them from memory, missing only the one detail that would have made them convincing. The compass by the door was spinning, not swinging erratically, rotating, smooth and steady, like the second hand of a clock. The fluorescent lights overhead had shifted pitch, humming lower, almost a drone. The wind had stopped. Full stop. First time since I had started the job that the desert was truly silent. Then the headlights moved toward the motel. Maybe 20 miles an hour. Steady, patient. I watched them grow from points to circles to the clear shape of headlight beams illuminating a stretch of road that cameras could not see. I stepped away from the window, went to the back office, sat down. Tires on gravel, engine idle, engine off, car door, footsteps. The office door opened and a woman walked in. 30s, dark hair, light jacket, tired eyes. She smiled, asked for a room. I looked past her at the car. White Toyota Camry. Immaculate. No dust, Rule 6, no room. But she was not like the man in the suit. She was not calm and knowing. She looked the way the silver Honda woman had looked on my first strange night. Tired, disoriented, a little scared. I broke Carl's rule. Where did you come from? She had to think about it. East, I think. I saw the sign and pulled in. Is this Kingman? No, Kingman is about 40 minutes north. She nodded slowly. I might be lost. I feel like I've been driving for a really long time. She did not know how she had gotten here. She did not know about the rules or the roads or the East Road or any of it. She was just someone who had been driving in the dark and ended up at a motel. I gave her room 18. In the morning, the room was empty. Bed used, towels used, key on the nightstand. Car gone. No footage of her arrival on any camera. She had come in on a road that does not record. I started thinking about the East Road differently after her. What if it was not just bringing things to the motel? What if people got caught on the East Road the same way they got caught on the other three, except the East Road did not loop? What if it just kept going, mile after mile, and the people on it drove until they forgot where they had started, and then one night they saw a neon sign in the dark and pulled over because they did not know what else to do? Exit. Entrance. Maybe it was both. Maybe the question did not work the way I wanted it to. My last night was January 7th, 2020. Cold, clear, mid-30s. The compass was pointing northeast, which it had never done. The red line on the map had reached the edge of the laminate and was, I swear to you, creeping into the blank white margin beyond the printed border. It had thickened, too. It looked as solid and permanent as Route 68. 3 in the morning. I heard engines, plural. I went to the window. The East Road was there, wide open, clear to the horizon, and on it, coming toward the motel, was a line of headlights. Not one pair, at least 7, evenly spaced, all moving at that same patient 20 miles an hour. A procession. The lead car reached the lot and pulled in. A sedan. Behind it, a pickup. Then a minivan. Then an SUV. Then more. They parked in a neat row, side by side, engines off, lights off. 7 vehicles. Nobody got out. I stood behind the counter and watched them through the glass. The fluorescents hummed their low drone. The compass pointed northeast. The desert was silent. Then, in the sedan, a dome light came on. A figure in the driver's seat sitting still, looking down at something. The light stayed on for maybe 10 seconds, then off. The pickup dome light came on next. Same thing. Same posture, same stillness. Then off. Then the minivan. One by one, down the row. A slow pulse of interior light, each one illuminating a motionless silhouette. I do not know what they were doing. I do not know what they were looking at. None of them came inside. At 4:30, they started their engines one at a time. The sedan pulled out and turned east. The pickup followed. Then the rest. Same order, same speed, heading east into the dark. I watched the headlights shrink until the last pair disappeared over the rise. And then the East Road was empty. And then the East Road was gone. Just desert. The sun came up at 7:12. The lot had my truck and 2 guest cars from earlier. No tire marks where the convoy had parked. Nothing on the cameras. I gave my notice that morning. I moved to Flagstaff, stayed with my brother for a couple of months, got a job with a general contractor, rebuilt enough of a life to function. I still have Carl's notebook in a drawer in my bedroom. I still have my legal pad full of notes. I have not been back to the crossroads. The motel is still open. I checked the reviews online a few weeks ago. Mostly complaints about the towels and the coffee, which is fair. A couple of mentions of getting turned around on the nearby roads. One review, posted at 3:47 in the morning, said simply, "I keep ending up back here." The front desk guy says to just wait until morning. I am sure it is fine. Here is the thing I have not been able to shake, and it is the reason I am telling you all of this. About 3 weeks ago, I was driving home through Flagstaff after dark. Routine drive, roads I know by heart. I stopped at a red light on Route 66 near the east end of town. While I waited, I looked out past the intersection, down the long straight road heading east. There were headlights out there, about a mile away. 2 white points, perfectly still, perfectly spaced. The light turned green. I drove home. I did not check the mirror. There is a reasonable explanation. Someone parked on the shoulder. Someone sitting in their car looking at their phone. Happens all the time. But I have been driving home after dark every night since then, and I have started noticing something I cannot quite confirm and cannot quite dismiss. The road east of town looks longer than it used to. Not dramatically. Not in a way I could prove. Just a feeling that the straight stretch before the hills goes on a bit further than it should, like someone added a few hundred yards that were not there last year. I bought a road map of Flagstaff at a gas station yesterday. Paper, the old-fashioned kind. I spread it on my kitchen table and looked at the eastern roads. There's a faint line I do not remember seeing before. It is thin and pale and easy to miss. It heads east from the edge of town into empty space where the map runs out of things to show. It does not have a route number. It does not have a name. It just goes. I am going to keep driving home the same way every night. I am going to keep not looking east when I stop at that light. I am going to keep telling myself the headlights belong to a parked car, and the road has not gotten any longer, and the map has always looked like that. And in the morning, I will believe it. Mornings are easy. It is the nights that do not stay where you leave them.